All right. Final topic of the day. This topic is brought to you by the Kinda Funny forums. Go to kindafunny.com/forums. Leave your topic in the Gamescast topic suggestions thread, and we'll get to them. Just like we did to all of these. Like Jose Lewis. When you were kids, what made you pick a certain game on your store, and how does that change when we grow up?
Box
The
art.
cover, yeah. That's all you had.
And Nintendo Power.
It was dope. Like Contra just had the two dudes that looked exactly like Arnold Schwarzenegger, just sitting on there like buffed out. And I was like, I gotta play this. This is Arnold Schwarzenegger's game.
I mean, that's really it. And it's funny because like I think that's changed so much. Actually, I wonder if it has. I wonder if kids these days walk into GameStop and like look at the box art and are just like, I want this. You know, and I'm sure that happens.
Sure.
But I wonder if that is the
Minecraft
dominant
have box
thing.
art?
No.
No, yeah. So
I mean, well, I guess it
It's
does.
not technically.
Yeah,
It's just the guy with the axe.
But I mean, even if it's digital, the thumbnail is the box art nowadays. But I remember going to Toys R Us and like looking at the box art and flipping it over and looking at the back of the box and reading the description. That really was, and looking at like 3 screenshots, and I'm like,
That's the size of like a nickel.
that looks like something I'm into.
Yeah, this looks like
nickel
good
sized
gameplay.
screenshots.
But
Yeah,
magazines, I think, were the biggest thing for me in terms of like which games I'm excited for, looking forward to buying, and then I'm going to make a trip to go buy this game instead of just walking into the store and deciding something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I very rarely walked in my older years. Like, well, not older. By the time really SNES was around, I was just like, well, I was making, I think, more concerted effort to buy games that I was familiar with, even though we were kind of in on by N64. I was pretty clear Nintendo Power was just a fucking rag for Nintendo propaganda. But it was, but I loved Nintendo Power so much. It was a great magazine. But box art used to deceive us sometimes. I remember we bought 2 games in particular when I was a kid: Athena, which is an SNK game, and then Deadly Towers, which is a broader bundle game. Those games fucking suck. And they had
and Phalanx.
Phalanx.
On SNES. It had the most badass box art of all time.
Was that the guy with the guy? Wasn't it?
The
It was
old
like
dude with the bad joke.
Yeah. I was like, what? Jesus Christ, I forgot about that. So like box art burned us once in a while. I mean, like Deadly Towers is just a notoriously bad game, but it had probably some of the best box art on NES. So, but when you think about NES box art early on from first party games, the box art was terrible, and so like it was just like zoomed in versions of pixel art.
I mean,
it was
like Mario.
so,
Even.
it
Think
was
of Mario
so
1's box
bad.
art.
It was, yeah, it was so
him like in flames.
Was him jumping like out of the fire, and like I think the pose doesn't even make sense in terms of like gameplay.
It's so weird. Like that, but Kung Fu is another one I really loved. That game, Kung Fu, which is an IRAM game. Those guys are still around, I think.
That game was so hard.
Kung Fu is awesome, and I love how it just cycled constantly. Like you just see how far you get, you can flip the score.
I never got past like the second round. Never. I'd be
Oh,
like,
really?
all right, I'm gonna
They
kick
start
this
throwing daggers and Nick's out.
done.
So I really, the dagger guys are the worst. So there was, box art was instrumental, and then later on, it was more, talking to your friends and reading Nintendo Power, or reading EGM, or whatever it was at the time that you were reading. And so I think I started making more informed decisions and being turned on to a lot of games that I just didn't know existed. I mean, that's how I got into like really deep role playing games in the Super Nintendo era. Then by PlayStation 1, I was reading the internet.
We just knew what we wanted at that point because of the internet.
And
we
PSN
actively seeked out or sought out what we were looking for. I wonder if commercials, because I mean, video game commercials weren't a thing in the early 90s.
Well, yeah, they were.
Well,
they always existed.
Yeah, I guess they were. I guess in the 90s. I'm saying before that then.
In the 80s, they were too.
Really?
Yeah, they were gaming
They had a
commercials.
lot of commercials.
Like
They were just
on
always
TV?
kids that
Oh,
were
I guess,
like,
the like Zelda commercial and stuff.
yeah,
There were
they,
commercials.
they
What
were
I'm saying is-
totally misrepresented.
But like compared to
misrepresentative of the
nowadays,
games, though.
where there's video game commercials on everything,
Right.
Constantly,
Well, I mean, also games nowadays are a lot more cinematic, right? So you have cutscenes, you have intro scenes, you have games that look 3-dimensional and are a lot more visually stimulating, and they're a lot more varied, right? So, like,
Yeah.
imagine you can't really do a cinematic trailer for Zelda, like the original top-down Zelda, because it's just like. It's not as dynamic, and so you had to have the kid that was like, "I'm going to go save the princess," right? And then get sucked into his fucking TV or whatever. And you're like, "This is terrifying. This is like Poltergeist. What's happening?" And
No, this is interesting. I mean, just thinking back, like, I mean, I know those commercials exist because I've seen them online and stuff. But like, I don't remember seeing them on TV. Like the first real commercials I remember seeing were like Pokemon, when all the Pokemon get on the bus.
It depended on what you were watching. I mean, I remember even during like G.I. Joe and
And Smash Bros. They're happy
well,
together.
Nintendo. Yeah, I was gonna say Nintendo's commercials. Nintendo
late
and
90s.
PS1 commercials were in the N64 and PS1 eras were great. They were actually really great commercials. If they, the commercials for things were a little more sporadic. You'd see a lot of like box store commercials promoting games and stuff like that as well. Just being like, blah 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 blah. and you would like see like
yeah.
but
Well, that was what I was gonna say too. It was like going to a Toys R Us and seeing the console running and seeing other people playing was all I
Kiosks,
needed.
yeah.
I was like, done. I need this. I don't care what it is. I don't even need to play it. And so I think for
The last game that sold me on was Uncharted.
Yeah.
I remember that. Like that was when I was like, I need a PS3. This looks fucking
Uncharted was dope.
crazy.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, like when I was a kid, you got burned. You just got burned.
Yeah.
That's just what happened, right? The only sort of respite from that I remember was I had friends that had vast libraries of NES games, and so I could just borrow or go over to their house and play them and be like, all right, this game's really cool. I like this. And then I'll get my mom to buy it for me or something like that. Or you just borrow it from them. But I always had friends that were dicks and were like, don't take that out of here. You're never going to get back. Because I wouldn't give it back. I'm like, that shit's
Your
mine
friends
now,
are
bro.
dicks. All right, this question's from Manny SJ, also from the Kind of Funny forums. Hey guys, this is a rather broad question, but why do you guys play video games? With more content out there than ever, what is it about gaming that keeps you coming back? I mean, I play games because they're fun. I mean, I feel like that's such a generic answer, but
It's your preferred method of entertainment, man.
yeah,
There's something so much more. I mean, more and more I watch TV, the more and more I realize that all of TV has. It hasn't run its course, but they've iterated on so many different shows, so many different times that there's not a lot of innovation happening on television right now. Specifically, just because the medium is constricted by its own, by its own self. Whereas games, there's so much more innovation happening, and so I can understand that it's just much more exciting genre. It's a exciting medium rather. For me, like when I look at it, I still see games as just too big of a time sink for me to really put into. This is why I like movies, because I can watch an hour of a movie and then pick it up the next day and feel like I completed something. Whereas if I play Metal Gear, I know I'm just gonna feel like a failure, like I did with Dying Light, where I'm like, I can't. It's too much. I played 15 hours and I'm no closer to like beating this game than I was when I first started. But I can understand them. It's just they're cool.
Yeah, for me, I think I've always,
Fuck,
from as long as I can remember, I was a fan of just media in general, whether it was audio or video and all this stuff. I love all of it. And games are kind of just all of that together plus an interactive element. And I think it's just like that is what really makes it cool. Is you're a part of it and you get to do stuff. And it's
you have
designed
control
around that.
over it. It's control. It's designed for you to basically. It's designed to center around you. Without you, it is useless, right? Whereas, and that's why they call it a very active experience. Whereas TV just keeps going.
Yeah, you don't need to be there.
No, they don't
It's
give a
just
shit.
gonna happen anyway.
And most of the time, like they sell ads based on you not being there anyway, and they don't really have an understanding of how you're watching it or why you're watching it, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like now they track DVR and stuff like that, but who gives a shit?
Yeah.
TV's dumb.
sorry, I don't mean to be rude. I have dinner after this. I'm just.
Do you need me to text someone?
No.
Should I text someone for you?
No. It's totally.
Can I text someone?
No, please don't.
All right.
So
I want you to notice this though. Have you seen this?
Of course.
that's
It's
been my.
ridiculous.
Do you
That's
know
been,
who those are?
That's Mr. Feeney and the kid that sells drugs eventually.
No. No.
That kid sells drugs. Look at his face. He's the kind of kid.
Eric Matthews does not sell drugs,
That
Nick.
kid eventually got a tattoo on the side of his neck, right? Because he's hip hop, and he's slinging freaking
Eric Matthews.
8
hip-hop.
balls in the valley, guaranteed.
No. He's
Guaranteed.
he's the older brother
Right.
of the
Yeah, he's the
the
F up.
main
He's the guy that had
character, Corey.
a couple problems with drug and alcohol. Maybe had a couple arrests.
He gets crazy in the future and becomes Dances with Squirrels, but that's a whole other.
I rest my point.
Yeah. He's also
He's
eventually voices Batman Beyond.
Yeah, no, I met him I think the other night.
Nice guy.
He's a nice guy.
So why do I play games? I've come to accept that that's what I do.
So the character looks like
I like him. I like playing video games. It's not something I've even thought about why I play games in 25 years. I like playing games, and I ebb and flow. I remember when I was at IGN, there were months sometimes where I wouldn't play games, like except for at work. Like I just wouldn't play games for months, and then there were times where I was even feeling a little bit drab about it this summer, and then last weekend I just cruised through a couple games. So I just felt like it. Now I'm playing everybody's gone to the Rapture, and I'm playing Mega Man Legacy
How was
Collection.
that?
Rapture's I'm only a couple hours into it. I really like it.
Yeah,
But I understand that it's not going to be for everyone.
I don't think I'm gonna like it.
it's very mysterious and open to interpretation, and doesn't really tell you what to do, which is cool.
I don't like that. I don't like it at all.
So Colin. Justin wants to know, Justin Bennett, why isn't Square wow, I'm like breaking today. This is bad. Why isn't Square bringing back classics like Secret of Mana, Secret of Evermore, Vagrant Story, Xenogears, A True Front Mission, etc.? The list goes on and on.
Bringing them back, like not the old ones, but why they're
But
not
like
doing
doing
anything
new
with them.
ones.
So Front Mission is a really egregious one to me because of what they're doing to that series, which is so fucking disappointing. They're turning them into like Armored Core games, which is Front Mission, which started on Super Famicom, and we finally got the original one on DS, which is a great game, is a really deep strategy role-playing game, like deeper than Tactics, Ogre, or Final Fantasy Tactics. You use mechs, and you equip your mechs with a bunch of different shit, and your player also has like statistics. It's a fucking fantastic game, and it's a little, I don't want to say highbrow because I don't think it is at all, but it's just a little hard to understand, I think, for some people, and I think they just were like, well, we can make it very Western, and so they ruined that series. Xenogears, I don't know. I mean, Xenogears is an interesting game that a lot of people like, but Xenogears was clearly rushed at the end, and I'm not so sure what the legacy of that game is internally at Square, if they have any interest in bringing that game back. So okay. Secret of Mana Secret of Mana did come back. I mean, there was another Secret of Mana game, I think. Wasn't it on PS2?
Secret of Mana?
Or PS1?
Was there?
PS1? Wasn't there?
Was that Secret of Evermore?
No, Secret of Evermore is an SNES game that was an NX game that Square now owns. And Secret of Evermore is a great game, too. But I feel like Mana did come back. Legend of Mana. That series did come back. So I don't know.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
So why do they not do these things? I think they have to balance it. They have their tentpole series, Eastern series. They have Final Fantasy and they have Dragon Quest, and they're going to continue to focus on those. Now they're also doing Star Ocean. So that's like kind of an A tier, not a triple A tier, but an A tier thing. I think that they're kind of throwing, because I'd love to see them bring back Brave Fencer Musashi. I'd love to see them bring back the Bouncer and stuff like that. But they're just not going. They're not going. I like the Bouncer, and I don't think that they're worried about their legacy so much because they can sell these old games. They want to focus on the things that are going to sell their business.
So Xenogears, right? This is a series I never really got into.
I'm looking up Xenogears right now. That's what I'm doing, Kevin. So shut up.
I don't understand this. So there's Xenogears, and then there was Xenosaga,
right?
1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
On PS2,
right?
Are those connected?
I don't know because I didn't play them. I bought Xenosaga, which had some German name. I don't remember. It was like some ridiculous name.
Oh yeah.
And I played it, and I bought it. So I bought it when I was in college. I think I was a freshman in college, and I put it in, and it was like an hour later, and like I still couldn't play it. I'm like, I'm out. And
there's so many Cosmos, whatever.
Yeah, I like hit the. I put it back in the box and brought it back to the store. So that was my experience with it. I don't know. I don't know that they're necessarily connected because then there's like not that it comes from the same company, but there's a lot of Xeno.
Well,
games.
Xenoblade, the Chronicle.
Which they're not.
Xenogears is the same now.
No, they're not related. Xeno is just.
What does Xeno mean?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing you have to look up.
I'm
that's
look it up
Xenogears
right
logo. I'll never forget getting Xenogears in '98, man. I got it for Christmas. It was
define
special.
Xeno.
Interesting game.
Xeno define. I'm proud of myself that I knew it was spelled with an X.
Final question of the day from James Tam. Why has Nintendo dropped the ball so hard on Virtual Console? Also, why no Super Nintendo games for Virtual Console on the 3DS? I feel like we've talked about this a lot.
It's not up to them.
It all comes down to licensing stuff and weird things like that. And besides that, I think they're just, in the last topic we were talking about with Sony making their decisions with PlayStation Now and all that, why is there not Super Nintendo games on the 3DS? I don't know. I really don't know. None of that makes sense.
They might not be able to do it. I don't know. I mean, the 3DS can run Super Nintendo games. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that there's probably more than meets the eye. Again, when we were talking about exactly the last thing where it's like there might be an engineering issue. That's my presumption, or my assumption. It's not a presumption. Now, I really feel like people are hard on Nintendo. I don't feel like there are many Nintendo published games that are not on Virtual Console of any.
But here's the thing: when you bring the 3DS into it, that's when it's just like, what the hell? They're just not there.
Right, but again, I think that there's just reasons for this that we don't quite understand. Because when you look at it in its base form in Virtual Console on Wii, not Wii U, just the Wii, it's awesome. Like, the Virtual Console is great. I mean, that was the best thing about the Wii. It's the best thing about the Wii U.
Years for it to be great. But now looking back, it is.
I guess so. I mean, I feel like Nintendo rolled a lot of their stuff onto the console pretty quickly. I remember when I first started at IGN, even in 2007, that they were, they had an announcement every week where they were just going and releasing 3, 4, 5 games a week, and not only for first party games, but for third party games as well. But they run into a wall, I think, eventually where they have to kind of go into their old stock. And I think something like Earthbound not being released for a while was weird. And there are examples like that. But I think a lot of it now comes down to third parties and third party cooperation. And they might look at these games and be like, you're selling it for $5. We might have a plan for Contra in the future. We might have a plan for Blades of Steel. We might have, we can make more money later if we release these games now. And then we try to release these games again later. Do we pull these games down? Do we look like assholes if we're charging more on this platform? There's a lot of semantics that I think a lot of people don't look into. So, I'm surprised that we actually got the amount of games that we did, because if I was Konami and I was releasing these Castlevania games, for instance, I would have been like, we'll put them all on a disc and sell them for $60. We're not putting them on Virtual Console.
Yeah.
And instead they just released them piecemeal and made less money. So, you can almost look at it from the other point of view.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just shocked that Super Mario World is not on 3DS.
They might have a plan to roll those Super Nintendo games out and make a big event out of it. But there must be. I mean, the only Virtual Consoles games I played are NES games because I didn't even realize that there's nothing else on there. But it could be a problem of emulation. It could be a problem of they want to make a splash. They want to distract.
It can't be the emulation thing. I mean, they got Genesis stuff on there. They got like all this other shit. And
there are Genesis games on the 3DS.
Yes.
Well, I mean, they're different consoles. Again,
no, I know, but I mean, it's just like at that point when you're dealing with those old things. Like, well, I know the emulation is possible because if you just homebrew stuff, you can make the.
Oh, I'm sure the emulation is possible. I'm not saying the 3DS cannot handle Super Nintendo games. The 3DS should be able to handle N64 games too, and it does. I mean, it handles Super Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time. Natively on cartridge or
Gotcha.
on card. But there must be a thing where like we don't want to dedicate the resources to this, or we have a plan for this. We're going to roll them out. We're being patient and waiting for other games. I mean, who the fuck knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Nintendo seems weird and they make a lot of stupid decisions, but they're also very calculated. So I don't think this is something like, oh, we forgot.
Yeah.
I think there's probably
like, shit. Good point. Totally forgot about that. It's a
Yeah.
little post-it note on someone's desk. Like
Put Mario World on 3DS.
Mario World on 3DS. It's like motherfucker.
Oh, man. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that has been the first ever episode 33 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Until next week, we'll be right here. We're just going to wait here. We're not going to do anything. But you guys should go to the Kind of Funny forums, post some topics, have discussions. Let us know about your responses to all these different topics. What do you want to see in the firmware for the Xbox One or the PS4? And what else is there? What do we talk about? What games are you most excited about? That's the one I want to know the most about. And are you excited about playing Volume? Shout out Mike Bithell. I love everybody.
What up,
Except for
MB?
fucking Kevin. Don't love you.
Kevin, how's that scone?
I'm going.
Bye.